And I said, if I dig a tunnel, because that was the idea, if you dig a tunnel, I said, if I dig a tunnel, it comes out in the ocean, I can make a swimming pool in my backyard.
Wow.
So anyway, so I went in the backyard, so I took my father's shovel, started digging, and I remember my two friends came over and said, hey, we're playing stickball, do you want to play? I said, no, I got a big project. And so I was now down about 2 feet.
Yeah, that's pretty
And it's like, and I remember it was only when I was stopped and they said, how long are you going to work on this? I said, I don't care if it takes till dinner. I'm doing this. But again, like I'm 7, I don't know. I have no idea.
Very industrious.
Adventurous though.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
but I thought, imagine that. I could swim through the earth to the other side and come up. And it was like, I didn't think about it was just
about the
exactly.
pragmatics.
But I remember I did get in trouble for it. But the point was,
That's too
I
bad.
realized that was the kind of nature of imagination is that try to figure these things out. Now you have people that we get to do this as grown-ups.
Yeah.
We can kind of pretend to think like let's see, if I was going to dig through the earth, what's the distance, what's the material, what kind of machines would I use? Because I got to the point where I was 4 foot deep, my head was maybe sticking up, and I couldn't get the shovel. So I was thinking about, okay, what I'll have to do is get some 2x4s and a bucket, fill the bucket and kind of carry it out, and then I need to build a ladder. And I thought I need an extension ladder, so I was already starting to think the next steps, but it starts with those crazy projects.
Yeah.
So what's the next crazy project?
We never know, in my opinion, but we have in school bunch of different projects. I don't know how crazy they are, but even kind of bringing some ideas to kind of curriculum, in my opinion, different studio projects is craziness, taking it out of the regular design. For example, what we are doing currently, we did, which you already know the project about shading with the spider webs.
I love the project.
It's kind of,
it's a great
in my
project.
opinion, it's a crazy idea, but I know that it's manageable. Yes, it's kind of how much it is manageable in a semester, very limited. But if we make the vision of the students and the possibility of showing these things could be manageable and could be applicable, feasible in the future to be done. So that's the point we need to achieve, because normally a project takes in the academia almost minimum 10 years to get into the market.
Right.
That's
But
true.
that was another discussion that we had last weekend. We had a conference and one of the panels had a question. Yes, academia is very slow to make that happen, but it's bringing another point here is academia is slow because not every grant the academic people can get. That's another point. If you get the funding, you can go ahead and do it. It's not 10 years, maybe every year if you have the funding.
It's very hard to get the
It is
funding.
very hard
Very
to
hard,
get the
yeah.
funding. So it's kind of, because funding means money for supplies, like student support, like conferences to make it available, connections and so on. So it's kind of, it's a long period, but it's kind of also starting with kind of putting into the curriculum to start the idea of it and then keep pushing it forward, That's what I believe.
Yeah. Julie?
Well, I actually
Same
had...
question.
Oh,
Or do you have a question?
well, it's the answer to your question is
okay.
what project, which I wanted to spring on you, but
Okay,
now's
cool.
a great time.
Okay. Yes.
Great, that's the spirit. We should do a 3-dimensional architectural cookbook.
Well, that'd be fun.
Right, but not in the sense of traditional
Not
recipes.
like a pop-up. Not like a pop-up
No,
souffle.
no.
Oh, a pop-up souffle. That'd be
A pop-up
funny.
souffle is great. No, in terms of it is a series, it's almost like a series of encyclopedias or a volume on the same sorts of processes that are used in constructing fields of food, of recipes, of there's a lot of chemistry in food. And there is a lot of chemistry in the way things go together in material science, the way things go together in architecture. And I thought it would be interesting almost to have a 3-dimensional ingredient swatch book, which then comes together as a series of, I would say, shadow boxes that all together comprise an encyclopedic cookbook of sorts.
That's interesting, because you hit on something that you were talking about. And I think the idea is that the
cabinet of culinary architectural
Oh, I like that.
curiosities.
So my question is,
So, yeah.
you brought up an answer to my question, which is that by introducing, when you go, a lot of times when you go into architectural school or anything to study things, you have to assume what the people are teaching you is what is actually applicable.
Yeah.
And in fact, by starting out with its interdisciplinary attitude about understanding the integration of other things, that becomes common. So the idea that you would have an entomologist and a painter and other people on your panel of your architectural projects opens up this person to realize these questions that I'm asked in my studio are the kind of ways I should think as an architect. So in a way, that's the answer to the question, and kind of answering Julie's, as well, is that like these things are the things. So aside from just you being naturally gifted at this, I guess, is there other things aside from, say, nurturing this mentality that we can do?
I don't know if it is kind of a natural what I have. I think it also depends on the education I went through.
Okay.
Because like my dad is civil engineer, as I said. When I was growing up, I was always involved in the construction projects, right? So, I mean, for me, I'm not interested to do the construction by myself, but I am interested to see the things that we design put into action, That helped me in that. So, but the education I started in this country for PhD make me think building integrated systems and like more like energy saving ideas. So in that sense, like I can say most of the things make that work. I mean, yes, it starts from the childhood, but it's kind of because of construction, building things, and getting the architecture education. Maybe that's the reason I got architectural education, because I really love the way that buildings are made. But put me into the architecture field, but sharpening me onto this direction, I can say, the PhD education I got, So for the new generation to be, I always say that even you do architectural like undergraduate, if you are doing it, your master should be specific field of architecture, either lighting, either acoustics, either sustainability, something specific with architecture, not a general master of architecture anymore, in my point. Because you have to be specified, like what you want to work on, and that will shape your future. That's what I always believe.
I think that makes sense, because I think that, I always used to joke about the fact that, like, I think architecture is a great field of study. It's a terrible job. And it's like, I think, like, because I know, because we all know people who work in architectural firms, and they kind of constantly complain about it pays really bad and long hours, and I never get a chance to design anything.
Never have a weekend.
And I don't have a weekend. But I think, the idea is thinking about these broad ranging topics. And again, I think about the fact that the term architecture comes from the Greek architecton, which is like craftsman and principles. And I've always thought that, like, a lot of times, like, arche means like first principles, or first integral fundamental ideas. And tecton means like the builder, the kind of so someone predominantly a carpenter. So in America, it's always been kind of translated as the master builder, whereas I think of it more as the one who tries to understand structure. So it goes from like architecture being a noun, like making a house, to architecture being a verb, as in studying the structure of things. So it's more a question of a nature of thinking about things. Right, and I think that's kind of what we're talking about.
The conductor of a symphony must know the structure of the piece intimately,
right, in order to construct it,
as well as how every single instrument sounds, plays, and is capable of contributing to the whole. I mean, I really do think that classical music is